The Harvest Show, where faith makes a world of difference.
Hello and welcome to today's Harvest Show. On the show today, she went from planning a future with her husband to planning his funeral. Author Kim Knight opens up about navigating the highs and lows of grief. Plus, what does it take to be a successful Christian? And what does that even mean? Well, Pastor Mark Lantz explains all that in today's Motivational Minute. Good to see you guys today.
Yes.
Start of a brand new week here, and post-second debate week. You know, might as well get the elephant and the donkey in the room, kind of out front and center. Did you watch the debate? Any thoughts?
I did watch the debate, and I think the night went to Donald Trump because I left here over the weekend thinking it's a wash. He's done.
Over.
He's over. After seeing, of course, that tape, I just thought, wow, I don't know what's going to take to stop the bleeding. But I think he did that last night.
Wow.
I don't know if he moved the needle, but I actually believe the night went to
Any
him.
specifics of points that stood out as memorable in your mind?
Well, of course, the emails. I mean, when he confronted Hillary Clinton about the emails. And then, basically, I think the reason why it went to him on points is because he didn't move the needle, because he didn't give me any really solid answers for some, like when he talked about Aleppo, I think he went all over the place a little bit. But the fact that he was able to stop the bleeding with regard to the tape, I think that's why he was able to save the night.
Chalk it up as a win. Okay, and you, Chuck?
Kiefer Sutherland was my president last night. I watched,
Did you watch
I watched Designated Survivor on DVR.
Oh, okay.
I watched it on DVR because I was getting caught up. So I purposely avoided watching the debate. After watching the highlights and sifting through the clips this morning, I felt like I needed a shower.
Just from that.
Of course.
Oh,
Just from the tidbits.
Just from the tidbits. So I can only imagine what an hour and a half to 2 hours of that must have felt like.
For me personally, I thought the boom goes a dynamite, drop the mic moment when Hillary Clinton mentioned it's a good thing that a person with your disposition, I think, something like that, is not in charge of law in this country, and he issued the statement because you'd be in jail.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That, to me, echoed a little bit of kind of, not quite the same, but back in the 1980 debate when it was, are we bringing that up again, which kind of reinforced the same old truisms. But and then also the question about the Supreme Court justice. There were a few questions about foreign policy with respect to the Middle East, about health care and the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and then the Supreme Court question where I thought there was quite a marked distinction there where Hillary Clinton said, we'll appoint justices who know the way the world works, and Donald Trump deferred back to Scalia and appointing justices who would be constitutional based.
Right. If you're thinking about, like, we want to know if there are differences, there are clear differences.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there's ever a doubt as to whether or not you want to vote for a person who represents this or a person who represents that.
Right.
It just depends on what type of person you want.
Well, we'd love to know who you think maybe won the debate and gained some traction or lost some ground. And you can visit us on our Facebook site there. Like us while you're there as well. Cast your vote. And you also find a whole bunch of great information on our Facebook each and every day. Brian Bush is going to join us from Jerusalem with what Israelis think of the presidential debate last night. And Brian, what else do you have for us today?
Hello, everybody. I'll have the latest on the terrible airstrike that happened in Yemen, as well as the reaction here in Israel to the U.S. presidential debate. But first up, we have the international news with Mr. Chuck Freeby.
On this Monday, October 10th, 2016, here's what's happening in your world. Attention-filled second presidential debate started Sunday with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump refusing to shake hands. That set the tone for the town hall-style debate. Here are some of the excerpts.
You bragged that you have sexually assaulted women. Do you understand that?
No, I didn't say that at all. I don't think you understood what was said. This was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. Certainly, I'm not proud of it.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Decided voters sitting on stage with the candidates. There were actually rare instances of substance in this debate. One of them occurred when the two candidates talked about what they would do about appointing justices to the United States Supreme Court.
I want a Supreme Court that will stick with Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose, and I want a Supreme Court that will stick with marriage equality.
I'm looking for judges, and I've actually picked 20 of them so that people would see highly respected, highly thought of, and actually very beautifully reviewed by just about everybody, but people that will respect the Constitution of the United States.
Trump said he wants a judge in the tradition of Justice Scalia. Scalia's death this winter opened a vacancy on the court that still has not been filled. The Republican-controlled Senate has refused to consider President Obama's nominee to fill Scalia's seat. Saturday's airstrikes launched by the Saudi-led coalition force in Yemen's capital left 115 dead and 610 others injured. The incident is the worst disaster the city of Sana'a has suffered ever since the conflict broke out in March of 2015. Almost all the hospitals in that city have received injured people, but the lack of medical resources due to the ongoing conflict has those hospitals struggling. People in southern Haiti say little to no aid has reached them after Hurricane Matthew tore through their village. Haitian authorities are still unsure of the extent of the disaster, with some communities still cut off. Tens of thousands of homes have been obliterated. The number of dead has now gone over 1,000. There are fears of a cholera epidemic, and the danger posed by Hurricane Matthew will remain in the Carolinas through at least the end of the week, when rivers could top or come close to records set 16 years ago by Hurricane Floyd. 8 people in North Carolina have died so far. 5 are missing. More than 750,000 remain without power. The storm also took its toll on South Carolina. 3 people there have died, including a man who was pinned after falling from his electric wheelchair into a puddle. Coming up later, Brian Bush has Israeli reaction to the presidential debate. But up next, author Kim Knight shares how to navigate the highs and lows of grief. We're right back with more Harvest after this.
Hurricane Matthew has hit the Atlantic coast hard, packing high winds and historic storm surge levels. Feed the Hungry is sending tons of supplies for distribution to local church partners. You can help. Send needed relief supplies to families who have lost so much. Your gift of $35 will deliver 500 pounds of aid to help the afflicted and restore hope. Please call 888-832-6384 or visit feedthehungry.org to help the victims of this massive storm.
What if I told you that there's a place full of loved ones' photos that gets prayed for regularly? Prayer offers a direct line to God, so who couldn't use a little more of it? Getting yourself or your loved ones on this wall is as easy as click and send. The chapel at LeSEA Prayer Line has a wall of love that's waiting to be filled up. Just email your pictures to prayer@lesea.com. That's it. Our chapel has been a focal point for prayer for the last 18 years. Let our prayer team pray for you.
Kim Knight suddenly and unexpectedly lost her husband when he was only 56 years old. And in one day, she went from planning the future with her best friend to planning a funeral. Thankfully, the unpredictable road of grief and difficult challenges, though, led to the promise of new growth. And we're here today with Kim. Good to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
The widow's might, M-I-G-H-T. If you can just kind of tell us what happened and what those moments were like when something completely unexpected and so grave happened.
It was very unexpected, Stephan. My husband went to the bank to open a corporate checking account. We had just purchased a new franchise business, and he had traveled a lot in his corporate life, and I worried a lot about maybe a plane going down or a car wreck, but you never think about somebody going to the bank, and he actually suffered an aneurysm in his aorta while at the bank.
And there was no indications that
not at all
anything like that. Wow. So when you got that news, what was going through your heart, through your mind, and the derailment of that kind of event?
You never really can prepare for that. I've spoken to a lot of widows over this time, and even people who knew that their husband was ill for a long time, you just are never really ready to get that news. And in my case, it was especially shocking. He was 56, he was at the bank. I wasn't expecting it. But I think it's something that kind of sets the world on a different axis, if you will. My life just completely changed. Not only was he my husband, and we did have a really good marriage, and I was really grateful for that, but I worked for him for 20 years, and we were just getting ready to start a business. So really, all of my daylight hours changed. I went from being married and working with my husband to a widow and not having a job at the time.
So what are some of the topics that you cover? Because I'd imagine now as you talk to other women and men, I'd imagine, who are going through this or who have been through the journey of grief and loss, what are some of the topics and what are some of the don'ts that you should not do when this happens?
Well, that's a terrific question, and there's a lot of topics. A lot of things happen fast.
Okay.
You know, when you're not expecting a death in your family, there are a lot of decisions that have to be made right now, funeral arrangements and having people fly in, and financial things happen. I wonder what people do when their finances are a little bit tenuous and there's a lot of expenses suddenly. I always encourage people now, you know, if you haven't had that chat with your spouse, you need to plan for this stuff. And people don't want to talk about it. A lot of people have told me I don't even like to say the word widow. Somebody told me yesterday they didn't want to read my book because of what the topic was, and I totally get that. A few don'ts, I think, are making really radical, life-changing decisions right away. Everybody tells you don't do anything the first year, and honestly, that's not bad advice.
Now, again, widows might, M-I-G-H-T, the strength that it took for you to kind of move off of this earth-shattering and axis-moving event, as you so said, where did that strength come from, and how did you kind of find it?
You know, I'm really, really fortunate. I have a great support base, great family, lots of good friends. I was very heavily involved at my church. And
you had a good group, a network around
I had
you.
a great network, and that's so important. And I really encourage people, when someone in your circle faces this, many times people don't know what to say, they're uncomfortable about the situation, your friends might fall away a little bit, and I really encourage people when this does happen to someone that you know, stay there and stick with them. One lady that I know, kind of peripherally really, sent me a card every single week for a year telling me that she was thinking about me. And I just had a great support system, great faith walk. Somebody asked me once, are you angry at God about this? And you know, fortunately, I'm one of those people, I wasn't angry at God. I felt like God was there the whole time, and it was as good a situation as it could be.
Okay, so tell us about some of those kind of conversations that you had with God, though. I mean, was there ever a time when you said, why me, why now? And address that issue about we should never question God.
Oh, I think you should question God. And I gave a sermon at a small church in my hometown yesterday, and that was kind of the story. I think if you are angry with God about this, and a lot of people do blame God because there really isn't anybody else to go to in this situation, take it to God because God can handle it. Jesus was mad at God. Job was mad at God. A lot of people in the Bible that are far better people than I am have been mad at God. And I think it's a great place to take that to God and not turn away from God at that time. Fortunately, I wasn't mad. My minister was at the hospital when all this was happening. He goes, "You seem so calm." I said, "I know. I can't tell if it's the peace that passes all understanding or the calm before the storm." But I've been really grateful to be able to kind of deal with it.
Now, the subtitle is Embracing Life After the Loss of Your Spouse. So, Kim, it seems like the moment that this all happened, there was some providential presence and God's peace there, but things still change. So
Absolutely.
What has changed in your life? Well, have you seen maybe the hand of God continue to work in you, with you, and through you?
A lot of things have changed. Probably the biggest change in my life was that I moved from Arizona, where I had a wonderful life and a great neighborhood and a really interesting journey at my church there. But I kind of at the time that my husband died, decided by choice that I was going to take on the role of the perfect widow. I don't know why I should.
What does that mean?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I was so good at being a widow. I was calm. I went to church every Sunday. I showed up when asked to, and I wanted people to think that I could deal with it well for two reasons. I wanted to honor my husband. He was a great guy, and I also wanted for people to think that I had my faith walk was in place. And I do want to say, I do think that's false thinking on my part. I don't really recommend doing that, but I pretended to be happy and in control for a year. And honestly, at the end of the year, I felt like I was happier. It was a better situation. But I did feel like I needed to move to a new place to kind of just have a new life. And I moved to where my children live. And it's been awesome.
Are you dating or waiting, or is that a personal question?
I'm doing both of those things. My next book may be about dating at age 60. I don't recommend it. Actually, I have dated some. I've met people through friends. I have dated a little bit online. It really might be a book. It's been kind of a crazy experience. It's really interesting because you tend to compare to what you had.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, comparing is bad because, I had a great marriage for 22 years. I worked for my husband. We really liked and respected each other. So to kind of move on and try to make that connection now, and really, honestly, my experience is you get about 5 minutes over coffee to make a good first impression. And I've had a couple second dates. We'll see how. I'll be back and let you know how that goes.
Inevitably and questionably, there's good days and bad days.
Yes, there are.
And so maybe if you could take us through what you learned in each of those kinds of days when you were walking this road alone.
Bad days come to everybody. When I was married to my husband, I still had bad days. And I think you just need to kind of put that in perspective. I really encourage, the whole message of the book is that time is a precious gift. And there were a lot of days, I'm sure, that you've had where tiny things that your husband or your spouse does kind of annoy you a little bit. I worked for my husband for 20 years. There were plenty of those days. I don't really sweat that small stuff anymore. That has been a huge change for me. When I'm with you, I'm with you. I say in my book, I hug people hello, I kiss them goodbye, I tell them how I feel about them, and I'm really just trying to enjoy the journey.
You say you also dealt with guilt. Why were you guilty?
So many people deal with guilt, and there's absolutely no reason to be guilty. But there's a quote in the book from Stephen Hawking that the human capacity for guilt is so great that we find ways to be guilty about things that we're really not responsible for. And if you talk to people, you could say to them, Kim, you had nothing to do with that. You don't need to be guilty. But somehow we internalize that. I think it's kind of a way of maybe making sense of it, or there's nobody to blame, so maybe it's somehow I'm at fault. But I think guilt is a very useless emotion.
We've got just 30 seconds left, Kim, and for someone watching today that is just going through or recently has gone through a terrible loss, what would your advice or word of encouragement be to them?
My word of encouragement is that really, I hate to say this, it sounds kind of trite, but things do get better. But I do think my message is that you're responsible in some part for your own happiness, and you need to make choices that are positive for you. I've talked to a million people that waited 1 year, 9 years, 20 years before they moved on. I just got a note from a friend recently. She said, I still feel stuck in the past and my husband's been dead for 20 years. And what a waste that is, and not a tribute. My husband would be furious with me if he thought I was wasting the days I have left.
Didn't move on.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kim Knight, our guest today. And to connect with Kim and pick up a copy of Widow's Might, you can go to harvest-tv.com. Easy way to link back to her Facebook page from there. Coming up later, Pastor Mark Lantz with today's motivational message. But up next, Brian Bush, the latest news from Israel. We'll be right back.
The Word of God has the power to transform broken lives, but only if we share it with those who don't know the good news. Each $5 you give between now and December 31st will provide a Bible to one person. A gift of $5 provides one Bible, $25 sends 5, and a gift of $180 provides a case of 36 Bibles to those in need. Pray about your gift and then call 1-800-365-3732 to give today. If you want to do more and be more, but your stamina runs out of steam, you need the top-selling Essential Vitamin Mineral Pack by Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. The Doctor's Making Healthy Choices Essential Pack costs only $59.95, but the health benefits are priceless. You get mineral concentrate, an unsurpassed formula of trace minerals essential to good health. Omega-3 for overall vascular support and healthy brain function. Vita Sprouts, a superior form of multivitamins, and you get Sol U-C for a strong immune system. That's mineral concentrate, omega-3, Vita Sprouts, and Sol U-C. An incredible value for only $59.95. And if you act now, shipping is free. Call 1-800-965-2345 or go to mhclife.com to get the Doctor's Essential Pack from Making Healthy Choices. That's 1-800-965-2345 or mhclife.com.
Hello, everybody. In the wake of the horrendous airstrike of the Houthi funeral gathering, thousands of Yemenis took to the streets of the capital Sana'a to protest after 140 people were killed and more than 500 injured. The demonstration took place outside the UN headquarters, with participants demanding an international investigation into the strike, thought to be the work of the Saudi-led coalition. Saudi Arabia has been called out numerous times for targeting civilians in the Yemeni conflict and has promised an investigation. In Syria, after a divided UN Security Council failed to agree on a truce to save the war-gutted city of Aleppo, Syrian government forces are keeping up their assault on rebel-held areas. President Bashar Assad's troops, supported by their allies, are advancing street by street in the largely destroyed eastern sector. The Syrian government lost control of Aleppo back in 2012. Here in Israel, the country was shaken yesterday as 2 people were killed and 6 injured in a drive-by shooting at a major transportation junction here in Jerusalem. The Palestinian attacker was due to start a jail sentence for attacking a police officer. He opened fire at people standing outside on a curb and then drove off, being pursued by police who shot and killed him dead. And lastly, in Jerusalem, reaction to the second U.S. presidential debate has again been mixed, with many commentators giving Mrs. Clinton the edge. Israelis have been hearing commentary all morning as analysts discussed the pros and cons of nearly every exchange between the two candidates. Many voiced that Mr. Trump came out doing better than expected in light of the recent developments, which causes concern for the Clinton camp over the momentum he may have picked up in these crucial weeks before the election. Friends, The Harvest Show is going to continue right after this.
Got Facebook? Follow The Harvest Show.
Comment and share your opinions on current events.
See new after the show guest interviews.
Watch my updates and inspiration from Israel exclusively for Facebook.
Facebook.com/The Harvest Show. Like us today. One of the greatest ironies of leadership and success is this statement: who you become in life is far more important than what you do in life. But what you're doing is determining who you become. You see, every single thought, every choice, every action is determining the person you become. There's no isolated incidents in your life, but rather it all flows together like a tapestry in creating the person you become. And I know there's many things you'd like to do, that you'd like to achieve in your life. Maybe you want to open your own business, write a book, or conduct a conference, and all of those are great things. But they're all destinations. Who you become is a process. It's a journey. And I believe God is more interested in the process than He is the destination. So here's the thought I want you to take away on this Motivational Monday. Stop looking at the destination. Start focusing on the process of who you are becoming. And just remember this as you begin your week. It's not always about achieving great things. It's more about becoming a great person. So now go take on your week. Become the great man or woman of God that I know you are.
If you need help in that journey, and we all do at some point or another, we encourage you to call the prayer line, 1-800-365-3732. You can email your prayer request to prayer@lesea.com, and you see the other ways you can contact Prayer Line as well. And if you really want to help out other people in their journey of faith, there are so many people outside the United States that don't have a chance to have a Bible in their hand. And we have really focused on places like Nicaragua, Honduras, Uganda, and of course, there's a big relief effort going on now with Feed the Hungry and the hurricane efforts. But any time that you want to help somebody out, the best way you can do it is to put the Word of God into their hands. And 1-800-365-3732 is also the number that makes that happen. $5 per Bible, and that's all it costs for us to put the Word of God into somebody's hand. We can do it in Spanish and English. You don't have to worry about the logistics of that. You just make the call or go online to LeSEA.com, and we will see you tomorrow on another edition of Harvest.
Imagine a world where every man, woman, and child had a Bible. There'd be more love, more compassion, more peace. The Word of God has the power to transform broken lives, but only if we share it with those who don't know the good news. Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger." Help us spread the word by giving to LeSEA Broadcasting. We're teaming up with Feed the Hungry to get Bibles into as many hands as possible. Each $5 you give between now and December 31st will provide a Bible to one person. We need your help to send 100,000 Bibles to the people of Nicaragua, Uganda, and Honduras. A gift of $5 provides one Bible, $25 sends 5, and a gift of $180 provides a case of 36 Bibles to those in need. Any amount will help. Please don't wait. Pray about your gift and then call 1-800-365-3732 to give today.
Help heal the sick, mend broken relationships, reach the lost with the love of Christ. Do all of that and more when you support LeSEA Broadcasting Prayer Line. Prayer Line is a channel of God's love, reaching more than 10,000 people every month. Your gift today will help keep Prayer Line available for free 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Go to your phones right now and call 1-800-365-3732. Give now and keep Prayer Line going strong.
The Harvest Show is produced by LeSEA Broadcasting and is viewer supported by people just like you. Thank you for inviting us into your home today.